Hey students, a lot to talk about today. My conference in DC was interesting. It was colder than normal. The remnants of Hurricane Ian came up to Washington, and the whole time I was there, I didn't see the sun. So I did see some of the leaves started to change. That's nice. I do miss the fall. Um, and there's some things I want to talk about. STEM identity was a very common theme this year, although I know some of you guys are not STEM majors, but many students struggle with the identity of being what it means to be a STEM major. Also, I'll get to that, but I also want to tell a story. I got to see the Senate. I was in the Senate gallery while it was in session. It was really interesting. So they were taking a vote. I don't know exactly what they were voting on. It wasn't very clear. What was clear was all the Republicans were voting no and all the Democrats were voting yes. And so the Senate chamber was mostly empty, but the senators would come in and they would vote on the floor. The more dramatic ones would stand in the doorway and either point up or point down, kind of had this pointing down motion. And then the president of the Senate wasn't Kamala Harris, it was someone else. But the president of the Senate would say, like, Senator McConnell votes, or it was Mr. and Ms. Mr. McConnell votes nay, you know. And so Bernie Sanders, like, Mr. Sanders votes aye. It's aye and nay. and But most of them, they would kind of come in, walk in, stand in front of the well, I guess there was the various levels of desks in the front, and they would usually go there and kind of indicate with either hand motion or speech, what their vote was. And it was very informal. I've seen the House of Lords in England, and that's very formal there, the way they speak. But the Senate chamber, by comparison, was very informal. And there were a bunch of senators just kind of hanging out and sitting in groups and talking. I mean, I know that they're wheeling and dealing and whatnot. I guess there is some advantage to that because in the floor of the House and the Senate, um, there is no limit to free speech. So there is no such thing as slander in there at any. There's no clear and present danger with that. So it was interesting. It was interesting to watch, and I'm glad I got to watch some of it. But this is an exciting time for a year in scientists because this is when the Nobel Prizes come out. So what are the Nobel Prizes? Alfred Nobel, among other things, he invented dynamite. And he was known as the Doctor of Death. And he was making lots of money selling dynamite. Of course, dynamite was being used in warfare. And he's like, I don't want to be remembered as a Doctor of Death. I want to have a better remembrance than that. So he hired some folks to think about it. It says, all right, what you need to do is you make a trust fund with some money, and a committee will go and decide someone who all throughout the world has promoted peace, and then give that person a peace prize and some money. And so then became the Nobel Peace Prize. And so then, of course, when we hear Nobel, we don't think of him as the inventor of dynamite and he made a lot of money. We think of him more from the Nobel Peace Prize, or also for the other Nobel Prizes. So besides the Peace Prize is given out through Norway, because at the time, and kind of still is, Norway were kind of like the peace-loving sort of hippies of sorts of Europe. But out of Sweden, where Nobel's from, there's also physiology or medicine, physics, chemistry, literature, and economics. So those are the 5 subjects of Nobel Prizes. And this is the chemistry one. Physiology has already been given. It was on some evolution, so that the other lineages of human. I guess I'm not a biologist. I gotta be careful what I say. It's the other hominid species, how their genes have been incorporated into humans. That's what it was awarded for, the Nobel Prize for that. Physics was on quantum coupling, and chemistry here is on bioorthogonal chemistry, looking at a way of tracking chemical reactions in cells. Literature was given by a French author, and as of this recording, economics and peace have not been awarded. At least not to my knowledge have they been awarded. So, and this is interesting for me because I happen to know one of the people who won the prize personally, and that's Carolyn Bertozzi, and she's here first, and she's mentioned quite a bit in this because she is the leader in this. And so Carolyn Bertozzi was a professor when I was a grad student at Berkeley. That's how I know her. And she is an amazing person. She's a lot of fun to talk to. So if you ever get a chance to talk to her, I recommend you do. So I was also reading, and the university sent this out, that this is LGBTQ plus Heritage Month, and and Carolyn is very open about this. She's a lesbian, and I mentioned that partially because it is because of what the university has published, but also to show you that chemists, and talking about STEM identity, we're people, okay? We're all people, and Carolyn Bertozzi is no example, or is not a well, she is human like we all. I should say she is not an exception. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. She's not an exception. We're all humans, and so we all have our quirks. We're all just people. And although I don't want to emphasize too much on the orientation, but so Carolyn has always been very upfront, and she was out at a time because before 2006. Being homosexual was illegal in the United States. So only after 2006 is it actually legal to be a practicing homosexual in the United States, and that's from a Supreme Court decision, actually, not necessarily not from any sort of bill through Congress. So, but I don't want to emphasize too much on that. She is an amazing person, and her science is absolutely amazing. And you can read about some of this. I think I'm going to send some subsequent videos on some of her research. And also, I want to talk about the other prizes. I don't want to go too far into this one because this is all about these fine folks. And they each get a third of the prize. So the Nobel Prize can be split in a couple different ways. And this way, they were all given thirds of the Nobel Prize. And when you look at this article, if you see these groups that say R means alkyl. So that's an organic chemistry term. It means a hydrocarbon where you have only single bonds. So hydrocarbon means a molecule that has hydrogen or carbon only in it. And these R groups, they can be the same, but they're very frequently different. The simplest R group is a hydrogen atom, and then the more complicated ones, well, you can have, as many carbons and hydrogens as you want, as long as they're all single bonded only. So these double lines, these are known as alkenes, and these triple bonds are known as alkynes. So if you see these R's and you're wondering what the R is, that's what it means. So with all my videos, I hope this message finds you well. If you are not doing so well, please feel free to contact me, especially if you're having issues with basic needs. And if you're feeling overly anxious, if you're having mental health issues, I'm not a licensed therapist. I can't help you there, but I can help you connect to some people that can help you. But please look after yourselves. Look after your physical health, your mental health, and also your academic progress. And that means if you're having any academic issues in my class or other classes, or just in general, like you don't understand something like some registration issues, please feel free to contact me. Oh, and the general scholarship for University of Hawaii is now open, so I highly recommend you apply for it. I mean, that's money right there, free money for you. So I highly recommend you go for the scholarship. Um, so, but I'm gonna close here. So, aloha for now.